thank you for listening to Eternal Paradigm. This episode, we're looking at ancestral spirits and connecting with calling upon those energies. Recently, well, not just me, but many people around the world have observed a period of time where we connect to, pay respects to even, and pray to ancestral spirits. This observance or practice is commonplace in many world cultures and serves a purpose on various levels. Now, in my own experience of this, of actually calling upon spirit energies, um, is in the form of a near-death experience, which is possible for many. That can be in the form of a guardian angel or a spirit energy that's there to protect you. In my case, and in this instance, the energy who turned up was my mum, and it wasn't at all scary. It was a scary time. What was happening to me? There wasn't any absolute certainty that I was going to survive that experience, but my mum was there, and she was there basically telling me to turn back, that there was no space for me. So my mum left here, the earth. She passed 18 years ago, and that in itself, in terms of her life and her subsequent death, left me creating a range of narratives that has impacted my life in so many different ways. But going back to the importance of spirit energies and our acceptance or openness to this realm is part of today's conversation. And my guest who's joining me today has a range of I'd say recent experience, but has had a lifetime of experience of understanding different things around spirit energies. So her work also is an absolute transcendence of human understanding, and she did a lot of self-exploration to get here. So thank you and welcome today, Merissa Hylton. Merissa is not only a friend of mine, but she is an amazing multidisciplinary artist whose work, like I said, is just phenomenal, and I'm so excited to have her on today. She's going to share with me so many different things, and hopefully we all get to learn something. I would like to welcome Merissa. Thank you for joining me, Merissa. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good. So, go
Just so
for it.
you know that when it is muted, I can't hear anything at all.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Okay.
so, so Marissa is joining me today, and we're having, I guess, like a very open conversation about her experience, about her work as an artist, um, about her journey, really. So, Marissa, tell me where you are at now, currently, in terms of your work and in terms of your kind of creative energies. Where are you? What's happening?
I would say that I think I'm probably at like a transitional point in my work where I am starting to feel that I'm going in a different direction. Whereas before, I think everything was a little bit random, and I was kind of like doing bits of this and bits of that, but there wasn't really kind of like a theme or a direction that I was going in. So now I feel that I'm going in. I'm kind of following more of a theme now, or heading in the right direction, even though I wasn't actually sure what that direction was. It feels like it's kind of going the right way now.
Yeah. What are the themes? Are there several themes, or is there one central theme? How's
Um, it's kind of, at the moment, it seems to be going more towards spirituality and primarily African spirituality. So my own like ancestral um, heritage, and kind of not to bypass the Jamaican side of me, but I feel like I've kind of gone back to the starting block with the work.
Yeah, yeah. So when you say starting block, are you kind of going...
As in,
Yeah.
you know, as in like where I am originally from, where my ancestors
Yes.
are originally from.
Yes.
So yeah.
So explain your journey in actually finding out more about that, because this is I will be looking at this in another episode, but there is a significant gap in a lot of genealogy, a lot of histories, especially people of, you know, from different backgrounds. And
Yeah.
so that would be fascinating to learn about how you've taken those steps to learn about your heritage, really, and your ancestral heritage.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you know the history of Jamaica, you know that Jamaica is basically black people are not indigenous to Jamaica. Jamaica was a drop-off point for enslaved Africans, and it was colonized, and the original inhabitants, most of them were wiped out by the Spanish. So I've always known that Jamaica was not the starting point for my heritage and my ancestry. And so it's something that, and I think that's something that I've always felt anyway. So even though I've, you know, spent a lot of time in Jamaica, you know, growing up and, you know, spending time over there as a child, it's always, for me, it's been a case of I know that there's more to it than just that. And that was something that I was able to pick up in, you know, like little things that my grandparents and great-grandparents used to do. I don't know, just their little quirks and little sayings and ways of doing things. There was always quite a similarity to like certain West African traditions. And then earlier on this year, I did an ancestry DNA test, and yeah, the majority of my DNA is from West Africa, so Nigeria and Benin and Togo, and also kind of like the Central Africa, like DRC, Republic of Congo, and yeah, so I just that was something that, and obviously there was like little bits of actually no, there's quite a significant percentage of European in there, but I already know where that came from, because a lot of
that's accounted
my
for,
mum's
right?
side of the family
Yes,
are mixed, so I knew where that came from. That wasn't a surprise. But it was just nice to be able to kind of like narrow it down to some countries rather than just Africa as a continent, because it's massive.
Sure, it's massive. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like there are certain things that you were learning about, picking up, that you grew up, that were familiar, that were specific to certain regions. You know, possibly certain, you know, when it comes to even certain tribes. So when you get to that point, then what happened? So when you started, when you kind of getting a picture together, I guess, through the DNA, through kind of piecing together characteristics, traits, words, what happened from that point onwards?
I think because of the area of Jamaica that my family is based, there's really a high percentage that my actual it was, I think, relatively, there was a lot of clues because of the part of Jamaica that my family are based in. So the Nigerians that were taken there were mainly from the Igbo tribes, and there's quite a large kind of I wouldn't call it a Igbo community, but just like a large percentage of Jamaicans that are of that ancestry from that area. So and also a lot of the language over there and sayings and things are very they're very Nigerian. They're very Nigerian, and it's funny because there's always been this clash between Jamaicans and Africans. But
Yes, yeah.
at the end of the day, that is where we're from. So it's quite pointless to have that animosity, especially when you realise how much of Jamaican culture is African, and it goes into things even like certain, with regards to certain spiritual customs that they have in Jamaica that are just completely African, because that's what was brought over, and
Sure.
it was mixed with a bit of European traditions, but essentially they are things that we've always done.
Can you kind of elaborate on that? Like what types of spiritual customs have you grown up with?
So just things like a lot of the ways of treating things, like herbal things. There's a thing in Jamaica that's called obia, which has basically been vilified as a form of witchcraft now. But all it is the use of herbalism and kind of like spirit energy to heal and to use it as a form of like herbal medicines, and just to get things, using things from the earth to get stuff done, basically.
Yeah.
And obviously it was, at some point, it was probably used to maybe bring harm onto the oppressors or the colonizers, so it was vilified and outlawed and packaged up neatly as like witchcraft and voodoo and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the healing traditions that we had, they were brought over with the enslaved Africans. So, and the things that are done in certain areas of West Africa are based on a lot of the traditional African religions. They're based on veneration of ancestors and the universe and the energy and elements and spirits, and it's something that was basically just whipped out of us once we got to Jamaica, but has been going since the dawn of time in its original location. And that's something that I think a lot of people are now going back to. Some people don't know why they're being drawn back to it, but I think there's been a shift recently where it's more people are they're kind of waking up to it or being more aware of it, definitely. And that kind of, it's in a way it's good, but in another way it's not so, I don't know, you want people to be aware, but you don't want it to become fashionable and get appropriated, which is what certain people love to do.
So we're kind of talking cultural appropriation by any chance?
Cultural appropriation. Well, as soon as something becomes fashionable, it gets appropriated, and it's like, oh, this is so trendy, and you can do this, and people start saging everything and selling sage in like random clothes shops and the body shop. I don't think it's all in the body shop, but and just basically taking our stuff, repackaging it, and selling it back to us.
Yes.
And there's absolutely just no need to do that.
Yes. Yeah. But I know exactly what you're talking about. But I know.
Yeah.
What I'm really interested in though is the connection with ancestors, because that obviously is something that, like I said, I totally connect with. I get it, and it's so important. So I'm really intrigued to kind of understand what your journey's been on that front and how it all came about, because did it start at that point where you decided to kind of look further into yourself, or do you see how did all that kind of come about? So go for it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been more so since I've been doing my genealogy. Because I've been doing my genealogy, my family tree, for a long time, for about 12 years. But recently, I have I've basically connected with some family in America that we didn't know we had. And we've just been able to unlock so many things, like with relatives and people that we didn't knew. For example, my granddad thought he was the last of his line in his family, and we've just, like, recently this year, even though it was via Zoom, we met a whole other side of that family.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and there's loads of them.
That's
Absolutely
amazing.
loads of them. And it was just so good to be able to connect with them. And then, I think I've always kind of been very intuitive. So I've always been able to pick up on energy or feel energy, especially of my grandmother, because my grandmother passed away actually in 2012. But then I've had close family and friends that have passed away from before that and been able to kind of like feel their presence, or, you know, see them in dreams, and, you know, have, you know, full-blown conversations in dreams as if, you know, nothing has happened, and everything's just been cool. It's just been, you know, like the usual banter and laughs and all that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
But, since doing this genealogy research, it's just been really intense. And, I think there comes a point when you have to realise that there are things out there that we just don't know about. So there are spiritual realms that, you know, we don't necessarily understand. And, you know, just because something isn't understood doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yes, very true. Very true.
So, yeah.
So I'm interested in understanding your kind of emotional take on this. So also emotional and mental, because sometimes, you know, when you're going through the process of, you know, genealogy, it's a very almost like a logical process, right? And then there's the whole kind of idea of the not knowing. Then there's the actually knowing when you discover something, and that takes you on almost like on an emotional roller coaster, so to speak, right? How's that been for you? How have you kind of found that, if you see what I mean? Have you been doing certain things to help you kind of process that, to manage it, to deal with it, or have you been able to use all of that and kind of funnel it into your art, really?
I have not had any problems with it whatsoever.
Okay.
I think it's been very, it's actually been very reassuring, because there's been a lot of things that I've had questions about, and, you know, or, you know, hunches, or, you know, that gut feeling about things.
Yeah.
And I think being able to speak to other family members who have the same kind of like the same intuition and same ability has been really, really helpful. And speaking to my aunt in New York, when I was telling her about an experience I had, and she was just like, "Yep, don't worry about it." She said, "We're all like that." it was just a case of, okay, nobody told me that, but hey, okay.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo. Come on.
Yeah, and, you know, even speaking to my mum, and my mum telling me, "Oh, you know, you've always been like that," you know, just and, you know, telling me that, you know, she's had the same experiences and everything, and I'm just like, why is nobody talking about this? And the thing is, my aunt, when I spoke to my aunt in America, she said that probably the reason why it's not really spoken about is because a lot of my family is brought up to be Christian, and obviously and the church is it basically vilifies anybody that has kind of connections to spirits or ancestors and that kind of thing. And you're taught that it's all witchcraft and it's of the devil and all that kind of stuff. And this is something that was there long before. Christianity is a modern religion,
Sure.
especially the versions of it that we have here.
Yes, yeah.
Even like a lot of my family were Seventh-day Adventists, and that didn't come about until the 1800s. It's brand new.
Yeah.
It's literally brand new. And it's not something that I've, having this. I would say it's a gift to be able to communicate with ancestors, because their primary what do you call it?
Outlet, maybe?
No, their goal, their job is basically guidance and protection.
Yes.
And that's not something to be scared of. I don't think that's something that you need to be scared of. It's for me, it's quite comforting knowing that I've got. It's mainly on, like I said, it's on my mum's side.
Yeah.
And those women are firecrackers. Like they are ready to. They will come through, like literally ready to fight if you need to fight.
Yeah.
Always have been. And it's just good to know that I've got that backing.
Yeah.
It's a really nice feeling. And because I was close to them as well, it's not a case of wondering who they are. It's like I know who I'm dealing with as well.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. So if you're happy to share about an instance that you've had where what are the conversations that you're having when you're connecting? At what points have you felt the need to kind of draw these energies into your kind of realm? What go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had an experience where I had basically someone that had no good intentions for me whatsoever and was really bothering me and hounding me. And I thought to myself, okay, let me speak with this person and try and resolve it. And so I'd arranged to meet up with them and speak to them. And before I'd gone, to meet them, I just basically said, I have a friend who suggested to me, just ask your ancestors for help. And that was the first time that I'd done it. I'd never actually done that before. But she said, just ask them for help. And so I did. And then, when I was supposed to meet this person, they didn't show up. And my friend was just like, she said, it looks like she goes, they went ahead before you and dealt with them. They just dealt with them. She said, because that person, they were not entitled to be around you or your energy. You didn't need to deal with them. It was already dealt with. Yeah.
So just to be clear, the person who was bothering you didn't turn up to this kind of meeting that had been arranged.
They didn't turn up, and I basically just was just like, okay, well, cool. Let's just leave it at that. And I didn't feel any way. I didn't feel any doubts about it or whatever. But when I got back home, what I did do was, because I have an altar, like an ancestral altar, and I did say, just please, just remove this person, like, from my life permanently. Yeah. That's all I said. I just said, please, just remove this person permanently.
Yeah.
And I left it at that. And I didn't think anything else of it, and I just left it, because I know when you dwell on things, it causes anxiety and worry. So, and that's where I left it. And then I was just feeling, about a week or so after that, I started to feel just very overwhelmed. And So I thought to myself, okay, let me just again ask for help. Let me just ask for help, and because I didn't know what else to do basically. And yeah, so I was going to bed. I was feeling a bit, a bit bleh, a bit overwhelmed. So I asked for help, and then I actually heard my aunt who'd recently passed away. I actually heard her, call me. Not loud. It wasn't like loud, shouty or anything like that, but it was just, really softly, just saying to me that, oh, I thought you'd never ask, and I was like, I was in bed and I thought, oh my God, I thought, wow, have I just drifted off? Like, did I actually hear that? Because I opened my eyes shut open. Yeah. And I looked at the clock and I was like, no, I haven't dozed off to sleep because it's only like a minute after I put my phone down and lay down. And yeah, it was just like the energy around me after that was just a lot calmer. And yeah, it's just been calm. It's been calm ever since. And I spoke to, and then I had a conversation with my aunt again. My aunt in America, she's in her 70s. And, I was just kind of explaining to her what, that I had been feeling really anxious about things. And she said to me, oh, it's probably because you had a lot of energy around you. And she said, it's because when you asked for help the first time, you said you didn't specify who you needed help from. So basically the whole crew showed up and it was like everybody was there ready to fight. And I was just like completely overwhelmed by it. It wasn't a harmful energy at all, but it was very powerful. And if you're not aware and you don't know where it's coming from, it kind of manifests itself in just feeling very unsettled. But I feel like now that I've spoken to them, like on an individual basis as well, I know I can sense who is with me. I can sense if it's one, I can sense if it's more than one. And because of all of their individual characters and personalities, it's almost like the right person is there when I need them, when I need that particular person. I have asked very politely though if they can just keep it to audio. Yeah. Because I don't think I'm ready for any of them to show. And the thing is, they're all tiny. They're all like 5 foot and under. And
there's nothing wrong with being 5 foot and under.
Yeah. In the hallway at night when I'm going to the toilet or anything like that.
Yeah. No. Which
I'm not ready for that.
No.
That'll finish me off.
No, totally. No, that's it's so, I know we're laughing about it, right? But I mean, I find it incredibly real and surreal at the same time. But to me, like I said, it just makes absolute sense. So I don't know if you have kind of had experience of having similar conversations with other people who are not so open or receptive to this. What have you had those sorts of conversations? What has it been like?
I've spoken, the one person who I thought was going to be who's going to be really skeptical about it was my husband, actually. And he just looked at me and was just like, yeah, I thought so.
He knows you too well, that's why. Yeah.
And he was just not surprised at all.
Yeah.
At all. And I think because I haven't been stressed or worried or scared about anything. Yes. It's nothing for him to worry about either. And I've just, and I was spoken to my children. Like, I had a really long conversation with my boys about it, my children. Yeah. And my eldest was just like, so can you talk to dead people? And I said when you put it like that, I said it's not dead people. I said it's their spirit and their energy, and they already know about, you know, like energy and vibrational energy and intuition and gut feelings and all of that kind of stuff. So it was really easy to explain to them about things. And, you know, I showed them some photographs of my great grandmothers, and, you know, my grandmothers, my great grandmothers, and my aunts, so the people that I'm in contact with. And at that point I could feel my great grandmother, you know, she, you know, been with me the whole day, and I could feel her there at the time. And I said to my boys, I was just like, okay, I can feel, I said, I think Nenen is with us, my great grandma, and she would have loved those two. She would have absolutely loved them, spoiled them rotten. She spoiled all the boys rotten in the family. And I said, because I had my candle lit as well, so I said, oh, do you want to, you know, do you want to know if she's actually here? And so, because I use, I divine with a pendulum. So I've got I either use cowries or I use a pendulum, but the pendulum is kind of like the more visual thing for me. And so I used the pendulum just to see if she was here. And and I also showed them how to use a pendulum as well, and they were at mind blown.
Really?
That they could control the pendulum.
That's amazing. But that
minds blown. They were like, oh my God, can I control things with my mind?
That's so brilliant.
So, but I use the quartz I use it for divining purposes. But so I just said, you know, is Nenen with us? And it was a yes. And so and then they started looking around the room. I was like, listen, she's not showing up in person. I've asked her
exactly.
not to.
I've had that conversation.
Like, wow.
Oh, that is
fascinating.
So, can I backtrack? You said that the boys know about spirit energies, you know, intuition and instinct, and I'm interested in, how did you have those conversations with the boys? Because I think sometimes I'm not sure if parents do that enough, and I think you and me are probably not that common in those conversations and how we have them with those, you know, with our kids. So how did that go for you? How did it start?
I think we were probably, because me and the kids talk a lot. So there's, you know, they spend a lot of time in my room, like in my bed.
Yes.
So it was probably a random conversation that was struck up at some point about, I don't know, like feelings or whatever. But they know that I think I always tell them to go with like their gut feelings, and I've told them about kind of like the, you know, like the chakras and like the root chakra, and the connection between that and the crown, and how you're when you're feeling nervous and you get that twinge in your stomach, is because your stomach, that's where your intuition kind of you'll feel it, your intuition, you'll feel it in like nerves or a twinge or whatever. And so I've always kind of like spoken to them about things like that, so they understand, you know, they understand about energy. I've spoken to them about vibrational energy and the connection to the earth, and everything's made up of this, you know, it's the same, you know, we're all carbon-based atoms, and you know, nothing is solid, everything is just grouped together and vibrating and rotating at the same axis as the earth and everything. So they know all about that kind of stuff.
So they're quite profound. Their understanding of these things is already there. So and I think
that's the thing. I mean, I want them to, and the thing is, because obviously I was brought up Seventh-day Adventist, and my mum still goes to church. So when they see my mum, when they go to my parents, sometimes they go to church with her and everything. And I don't have a problem with that, because I'm not trying to tell them, because when I was younger and I was in church, it was drummed into my head, what's right, this is right and everything else is wrong. And it was almost like you're not given the opportunity to make that decision for yourself.
Yes.
And so I am fine for them to be exposed to that and to learn how other people think and how other people believe and other people worship. But I do let them know that that's not what I believe anymore, and I tell them why. So I don't just say something and they take my word as gospel. I explain to them why, which is basically what happens in church, is where you're told something and you're supposed to just accept it. And if you ask questions, nobody wants to answer them.
Yes. Yeah, no, very much indeed. And I think that's, from my experience, yes, I know exactly where that, that kind of disparity comes from, where you're kind of told to do certain things. And in most cases, the people who are often telling you to do these things quite themselves don't understand, but it's just a passed on thing, or it's like entrenched in the conditioning of your mind that these are the things that you do. And so I think I'm very much with you on that level, where I think it's important for us to be very kind of open about these things with our kids. And the score, my kids think I'm kooky anyway, so
mine just like nothing surprises them, to be honest. Really, and also I think that they've always known, like even with regards to things like medicines, like we were never, that's the one thing, when I was younger, it wasn't always, we weren't medicated, like with colds and bugs and stuff like that. It was always something that was mixed up. Like either my mum mixed up something, or my nan mixed up something, or it was something disgusting that my great-grandma, like they're always boiling some kind of root.
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely.
And so that's my default for when anybody, they very rarely get sick, but when they do, my default is herbs and spices and stuff, and and it is natural. That's basically my default setting for them. And so they, and that's something that's another thing that's ancestral, and and that has literally just been passed down. So they already know that I will go with traditional methods first, before I go with all this, with the new modern medicine, which hasn't really been around that long, to be honest.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, again, I'm with you. I think, most days my kids walk around like they look like not jelly babies, they look like turmeric babies. They are. I mean, seriously. So
the thing is, it's weird because I'm not keen on the taste of turmeric, but my oldest, he'll drink turmeric tea every day.
Good for him. It's good for you.
I know, but I'm just not keen on it. I'm not keen on it at all. I'll drink it if I have to. Like, if I feel something coming on, I'll drink it if I have to. But miss me out on that. I take vitamin C every day anyway. But I'm not a fan of turmeric at all. It does work though. It really knocks it on the head, but I just hate it. It
really does. Very true. So, Merissa, I have one last question for you. And that is, what's happening for you currently in terms of the work that you're doing? Where are you at? Because you've now got your own studio space. You have got your work has been featured in an amazing art magazine. So, what's happening? What's going on? What's next?
It's mainly trying to build up a body of work. I would love to do another exhibition, a solo exhibition, and now I've got that studio space. I've got the space to build up a body of work in there, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. I've got another little. It's not an ancestral. I've got a spirit altar in my studio as well. Not an ancestral one. The ancestral one I keep at home, just for home. So all the same energy that I use at home, I have it in the studio as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So explain the difference. So the spirit energy and the ancestral energies, and they're two separate altars in two different locations. So
Yeah.
if you could explain that, that would be great.
Yeah. Ancestral connections, they are your DNA and your bloodline. So these are people that you are directly connected to. Spirit guides are different. They could be someone that you're connected to. They could be someone that you've known in, you know, like in the past or in a past life, or they could be just a completely new person or new spirit that is just, you know, okay, the best way to describe it is, how would a Christian would describe it as a guardian angel, basically.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to describe it. So, a spirit guide is something that I have recently, I've been doing a lot of meditation, so I meditate a lot, and also I work with solfeggio frequencies, which are different sound frequencies that vibrate on different emotional levels in the body, and you can use them to tune into different things as well. So there's a certain frequency that you can use to connect with spirit guides and kind of help you to get attuned with that spirit guide and to identify them, I should say, to identify them. And so recently I've been able to, it's taken, you know, a few sessions of you know, getting in tune and really just connecting to, get connected with my own one. And, it was really, I think because the first few times I did it, I could only see like a silhouette, and I couldn't, you know, pick out any features or anything. All I knew was the silhouette. I knew that it was, she was female, she was black, about my build and height. And I think the last time I did a meditation session or a connection was the other day, and I was able to actually see a face this time. And
wow,
I thought to myself, okay, now I finally met this spirit, so I know who I'm dealing with this time. And I think I think a lot of people go through life knowing that they've got a guardian angel. I've had an experience when I was younger, and I was crossing a road and I wasn't looking where I was going, and somebody pulled me back so hard that I almost fell over, and I went to turn around to kind of be like, what are you doing? Because the car came around the corner, and basically if I'd have kept going, I would have been, and the car came speeding around the corner, so I probably would have been killed. And I got yanked back so hard, and I was just like, why is this person pulling me back so hard? And I turned around, and I was the only person on the road. Like, literally, there was nobody else there. And I think that was my first experience of feeling what, at the time, everybody was just like, oh, that's your guardian angel, that's your guardian angel.
Wow.
So, and I don't know, at the time, because how old was I? I was probably about 13 or 14, and I know it wasn't an adult as well, so I think whoever this spirit is has kind of grown up with me, because I feel that we're about the same age.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, it's very refreshing actually talking about this with someone that gets it, because when sometimes you try and explain this to just like someone who's not of that persuasion or, you know, that mindset, they just look at you and they're like, okay.
But there is though.
You just start taking some meds.
Yes, I know, but I get that, because I get a lot of this, and I think now it's like that, you know, there's the whole I want to say kind of trend to do the whole kind of positive thinking, positive mindset, and actually positivity is just one small aspect in all of this. actually being open to the reality of what the mind, the body, your own kind of soul, your ancestral spirits, kind of being open to all these realms is actually what we're really here for. But I think a lot of that gets numbed, dumbed down, kind of beaten out of you.
Yeah, but do you know what else? It's definitely not something that you can do before time.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So, I definitely believe that this is not something that I would have been ready for like 5 years ago. Even last year, this is not something that I would have been ready to deal with last year.
Yes, yeah.
And one thing that my aunt said to me, which really resonated, was when she said, that you've always had this, but, now is the time that you're getting it because they feel that you're strong enough for them to communicate through you.
Yes.
And I get that because before, when I was really going through some like really rough stuff and depression and all kinds of things, for me to be hearing voices and feeling those kind of things, that probably would have sent me over the edge.
Yeah. But I think, no, I totally get that because there is, but also there's like this thing, right, where people seem to, like you said, like when you actually say that you're open to these things, the general perception is, mate, you need to see a doctor or have some medication.
And that's the thing, anything that's not understood is generally feared.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people, that's what a lot of the control that the world has over us is based on fear. For me, that's why religion has control over so many people, because they are basically, bashed into this sense of do this or go to hell.
Yeah.
And especially like with Christianity, the whole notion is that you want to get to heaven. You want to get to heaven. You want to live that lovely life in heaven forever and ever. Otherwise, you can burn in hell forever and ever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense, because there are elements in the Bible that that tell people like, don't live with this spirit of fear. Don't live with the spirit of fear. And yet, that's one of the main things that they teach in church. The thing is, I'm not at all bashing the Bible, because there are elements. For me, the Bible is it's a compilation book.
Yeah.
And it's an amalgamation of lots of different spiritual ideas and practices, all mixed with a little bit of colonization, edited by some white guys, and repackaged and sold and used as a tool to manipulate.
Yes.
So it's there are bits in there that are there, and they're there. That's what they do. Things have to be. The best way to hide something is in plain sight.
Oh, very true. Absolutely true. And that is right. That is what it is. It's like we have this. I mean, this is like a bigger question, a bigger thing I'm throwing out there, but we seem to we're almost like conditioned by fear, and whether that's done through certain religious practice and dogma, or whether it's done through cultural practice, we are conditioned by fear, or the fear of the other, or we're told that if you do this in this life, then you will then go on to kind of have a better time, which doesn't make sense, because I agree wholeheartedly with you, because I think to myself, if things were so bad here, I think we're the only ones to blame for things being so bad here. No one else.
Exactly.
It's like we are the absolute.
We are the enemy of our own progress.
Absolutely, we are our own masterminds of our own demise, and there is nobody else to blame, and this whole thing around just believing or not questioning, and I think a lot of mental health issues, in my experience and from what I've seen, read, heard, spoken to people around, have actually come from around these things, kind of fear-based, or feeling just, not worth anything. And a lot of that comes from your societal pressures, your parental pressures, your
Yeah.
upbringing, and it's all kind of rolled into one. And
Yeah.
that is where I really, really feel that we need to know ourselves. We need to be
Yeah.
wholly connected with ourselves, because only then can you really, like you said at the beginning, it's like you explaining it to the kids. We are nothing more than elements and
Yeah.
minerals of what's already here. It's just that we've got a brain, and that is
Yeah.
part of the problem.
Exactly. And the thing is, for example, in there's the Yoruba belief system of Orishas and Ifa. One of the main things when it comes to connecting with your spirit guides, or your Ori, your Orisha, because they have Orishas, which are basically the kind of like, I would say, like the church's versions of saints.
Oh wow.
So,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
charge of
yes,
different
yeah.
things. There, you can't go straight and pick an Orisha and say, okay, I am, Yemoja, or I am Oshun, or I am Shango, or whatever. You have to go via your ancestors, and before you do that, you have to go through yourself. And when it comes to a lot of because you can go to like ayahs or priestesses in those in that religion, and basically to try and connect with your Orisha, your guide, and they will, a good one that's not trying to scam you, will not do that until you have gone through your own personal connection with with getting to know yourself first. You can't know beings in another realm until you know yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so you have to work on yourself internally before they will even try and connect you with anyone in the spiritual realm. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely a no-brainer. So just on that point, I was reading, well, actually, from a very young age, I was just fascinated with people who go on to become monks. And in Gujarati, the term of kind of becoming a monk is called sannyasi. And so when I was younger, I was fascinated with kind of leaving the world as I knew it, because I felt like there was something else somewhere else. I mean, obviously, the female version of a monk, I don't know. I didn't really bother looking at that because I was just looking at monkdom for some reason. But I know, right? I don't know, but I found it really fascinating because I read these books about how, in order to become a monk or take steps in that direction, one of the actual rituals or the prayers that would have been carried out would have been to the parents of the monk, and then another separate prayer to the ancestors of the monk, because what the monk would effectively have been doing is actually saying thank you for everything that I am now in this physical form, but my spirit is at this level now where I have to kind of almost like cut ties. I'm no longer there. I'm no longer part of that. And I find that so fascinating because
because you just said that with the prayer for the parent and also the ancestor. It's the same with certain divination for example, in Ifa, for example, where they will, in order for your for the person who's doing the divination to be able to for their spirit guide to actually identify you as a person, they will need your full name, or the name that you had at birth, or the name that you're known by, and also your mother's name, your mother's full name.
Wow.
So it'll be your name and your date of birth and your mother's name and their date of birth. and it
Ah,
goes through that way. So it's always it goes through the mother, because obviously we come through women.
yes,
So,
yes,
but
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
it's always through. There's a route. You can't jump straight into this divine sense of being. There's a process to it.
Yes, yes. There's a process to everything. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
I am going to have to end our amazing conversation on that note. The fact that there's a
Okay.
process to everything. Um, Thank you so much. I hope that this conversation has been as helpful to you as it has been to me.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I'm really you know the score, Marissa. As soon as I decided to start doing this, you were actually one of the first people that I really wanted to talk to, because you've got so much experience and insight and just lots of different things, but all of that is just, it's so real, and that's what I
Yeah,
love.
I mean, when I saw what what the podcast was about, I was like, okay, this is definitely divine timing for it.
Yeah, divine timing, I love that.
Yeah, it has to be. It's not that this sort of thing doesn't happen by coincidence. So I
No,
don't believe in coincidences
no,
anyway.
but I think we both put it out there, right?
Mm,
Vibrations, the universe, it's
yeah,
all there, it's
yeah.
all there. Cool. Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you.
So that was the amazing artist Merissa Hylton, who was sharing her experiences with us, very much about what she's been through and her, I guess, her spiritual ancestral connections. Thank you so much for listening to Eternal Paradigm. Join me on the next episode, where we'll be looking at human experience. Take care. Bye.